There we go. Wow, that was a handful of days. I guess there was a video loaded every day I was gone though, I think. So what is it now? I think it's Monday night. And we just Sarah made 32 jars of salmon canned today. I think she's got another 30 something more she's gonna do tomorrow. And she's putting all her how-tos up on the Cook and Eat a channel again. I'm gonna get that going again. It's been pretty tough for her having this farm and all these animals and shit. What else? Quick note. We have some guests from here coming, a bunch of guests coming from here, coming fishing with me in the next handful of days. And she's got an email ready. The logging road to get to where we are, where the boat is absolute hell right now. And they are actually going to surface coat it with something and make her drivable. Pavement or seal coat, whatever. And I'll tell you what, drive back yesterday was, for me, it was just like, good God, you gotta be kidding me. Anyway, one of our guests, they're touring around in a motorhome right now, and they want to drive the motorhome out there. And I'm thinking to myself, I just realized this minutes ago, I'm thinking, holy shit, don't do it. Don't do it. And I hope they're watching this video today. The logging road is hell. And there's a very cool old World War II era vessel, has burgers and snacks on it and everything, and it will take you from Port Alberni to Banfield, and it will drop you off at the commercial dock, which is about a 1 to 2 minute walk from the hotel door where you stay. And that's where I pick you up in the boat too. So Sarah's gonna get that email across to them. To do that, I'm taking this moment right now to hopefully address them, to get it across to them clearly. If I'm cursing the world in my 4x4 ripping on that road. There's people getting out and fixing flat tires non-stop. There's a huge detour right now. I don't know what the one-way trip is by logging road right now. It might be 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. Once you get there, it's absolute paradise. And then once you get there, if you're gonna come in a motorhome, well, it's going to be quite challenging. There's limited camping right in town there, and it's basically when you get there, it's a dead-end road once you get there. And if you don't have a boat to get around, you're screwed. And it's very busy right now. The fishing's hot. That's a very busy time of year. So I would strongly suggest, I hope Sarah's getting the email to these guests who are coming in a couple days. Or she's going to get that tonight or tomorrow. And if they are watching this tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday, please consider taking the $50 each one way, or it's $100 a person per round trip. It's $50. You can see the whole inlet all the way to Banfield. It's unbelievable. Drop off your hotel, just bring the clothes you need to go fishing, your cooler, and I pick you up in the morning, and then you can take the ship back again the next day for $50. And if there's somewhere you're worried about leaving your motorhome in Port Alberni, you can leave it at my place, and we'll get you a ride to that vessel. All right? How's that for a babble, you guys? But I needed to do, that's a big concern in my mind, because there's a conversation that just went down about 5 minutes ago. Now, what's going on in the world? I was listening to a Rumble channel video today while doing things, getting ready to go. I got to turn around and go right back out. And Scott Ritter. Scott Ritter is a very, very intelligent man. I have a lot of respect for him. He says it the way it is, no matter what. And I was listening to that podcast today on the Rumble channel. I put a link to it on the community page of this YouTube channel. Take from it what you will, or leave it. If you have no interest, fine. You don't have to freak out and email me that you don't. But these men, these individuals gather and swap very intelligent knowledge, and they keep you informed of the truth of what's going on the planet. And it affects every single one of you, no matter how much you want to look away, it affects you. And I strongly suggest you listen to these people. Anyway, enough of babbling. I'm babbling. It's like I've been stuck in a boat for a week. Right? What else? No bear problems here currently. My neighbor who was down the road said he's heard nothing but gunshots the past few days. And I have a funny feeling that the culprit may have been dusted by somebody else. There's gunshots in where I live. There's gunshots close, fairly close. I've heard gunshots off in the distance, and the distance meaning by the sounds of it probably 500 yards or something, 600 yards away. I've heard rifle shots the odd time, sometimes at nighttime too. So it's no surprise that any predator around here wouldn't last too long in the neighborhood I'm in. Right? Now anyways, getting to some voices heard while I can sit down and have my time, crack open my emails, which there was gazillions of them as usual. And what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to try to alternate, because we get a lot of emails coming from people sharing knowledge and experiences, and then other potential important replies come in email form to those people. So in order to possibly help keep everything connected and making sense, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go way back in my list and share from there, and then the next day I'm going to share what recently came in, and then the next day I'm going to go back and alternate back and forth, okay? Just to make sure that everything stays relevant in a way with each other when it needs to. All right, I hope I'm making sense. Probably not, but you never know. So, what do we have here? Hold on a minute. Where are we going? Back up to the top. All right. Caught a lot of fish this past few days, a lot. And we actually had a two-day fishing derby. We had the 29-pound salmon won the derby, and we had about probably a 30 to 32, 33-pound salmon right beside the boat, and we lost it. It spit the hook. It literally spit the hook out, and it was about 8 inches away from the net. we would have won $5,000. Oh well, shit happens. Get the hooks back in the water. No sniveling. This is titled Multiple Experiences Tied to Known Bigfoot Hunter, also Coy Wolf. I'm Dean, the new follower. My sister sent me a link to a video. Please withhold my last name for time being. Okay, man, I gotcha. I have no fear of sharing experiences, but there are too many idiots that cannot handle reality, so I avoid needless drama from idiots when I can. Oh, dude, please. Look at what I do. It's all good. Shrug it off. I'm not sure if you've heard of Robert Morgan. Nope. It is said that the bald Bigfoot hunter in Harry and the Hendersons movie was based on him, and I'm sure that sounds goofy. In the film, he was a bad guy, of course. In reality, he was far from it. My brother and I had a sighting when we were pre-teen in northern Jackson, Ohio, northeast. In North Jackson, Ohio, northeast. I honestly don't know how, but a few years later, my mom became friends with him. He visited our home on multiple occasions, and also had a guy with him that did not say much. But our family sensed he was from an intelligence agency. I would have kicked him out like a frickin' diseased feral dog. Anyway, I've researched this all my life. I'm 45 now. I've heard it scream, which is hard to describe. To the layman, it would be easily described as blood-curdling, but it wasn't a threatening thing. When I first heard it, my first instinct was a woman's scream, then it lowered its pitch to a deep sound and ended with a type of whooping sound. Years later, a friend from college, he was from upstate New York and always hiked in the Adirondacks, visited, and I told him about it. Of course, he did not believe me, so when we walked down a gated Gaswell Road, this was a new house but less than a mile away from the childhood house. It was a full moon that night. We stood about 30 yards from the tree line, which was pitch black. A field off to our right, woods on the left, and the tree line directly ahead. Being fun and almost sarcastic, we made a few screeching type sounds, like something you would hear a monster make in a cartoon. That description came to mind the moment he started doing it. There was only silence as we stood for a moment or two, and as soon as we turned our shoulders to begin to head back to my house, we heard that scream. He was terrified, more from adrenaline than from mortal danger, and I have to admit my heart was racing also. His first instinct was to run, but I told him that A, we would never be able to outrun this thing, and B, this thing was not there to hurt us. It was only hollering back, and some form of communication. About a year later, I was playing pool with a local friend at a bar, and somehow we got talking about paranormal things, and I told him about the scream incident. I did not tell him of the childhood experience, which is another story of its own. So thinking I was full of shit and wanted to have fun, he took me up on the offer to see for himself. I honestly didn't expect it to happen again, yet somehow I knew it would. Crazy. We walked down that same gated dirt road, probably 2 a.m., and I told him to make that monster screech sound, and he did. And again, it screamed back. I did not have time to tell him no to run, so I found myself running after him to calm him. It's kind of funny because the adrenaline gave him Carl Lewis speed, but then the alcohol was also present, so I watched as his legs turned to rubber and he went face first into a huge water/mud puddle on the path. And that repeated about 3 times, getting up, running, falling face first into another puddle. It made me realize that I've become very adapted and used to things that are a reality, but to the rest of the world they're an impossibility. I've always sought to learn more about the unknown in life and have little interest in the knowns, most of which are bullshit. People just want to watch the Kardashians and call it a day. I'm happy to share more. This is just one experience, and if you Google Robert Morgan, you'll see that he's probably the authority on Sasquatch. He would bring a book with him and ask everybody who claimed to have an encounter a test question based on the book cover to see if they could point something out. Other experiences of mine vary from its ability to mimic and throw sound that defies all logic, to 3 black SUVs another time, to local law enforcement telling us they would not go down that road. After the childhood experience, I did some exploring in the backwoods and believe I found a nest, basically a stomped out area, an indentation in the ground, a large tree with snap sticks placed against it around its entire base, probably 100 of them. Robert Morgan showed us certain things years later, like how to spot out large sticks pointing in a direction or weave together in a way that was not accident or fallen limbs. I have a theory on them, and the term watchers is the best way to describe my theory in short. I'd be happy to share more if interested. I'm actually now in Summerfield, Ohio. There's a large Bigfoot statue in town, Caldwell, Ohio, and there is some sighting history here. But I also think we may have another one, according to the maps. This is one of the biggest hotspots in the country. But also, there's something about this land. I found this tooth a few weeks ago, and I've seen what I believe to be a coy wolf. Very big. And one of my guys had an experience recently with the knocking and sound mimicking. We're building a recovery center retreat here. Here's a pic of the tooth I found, and I will be exploring a bit and tuning into my senses more to see what I can learn regarding the friend we may have here. This is a quarter next to the tooth. All right, here's the tooth. Get that reflection out of the way. Do I have any thoughts on the tooth? Not me. I'm definitely not a wildlife dentist. I've seen lots of teeth. I haven't a clue what that would be. It doesn't look familiar in any way to me. I believe that is what ate this baby deer. 3 of my guys heard it screaming the night before. But the crazy thing is that I found these remains the next day about 10 yards from a smoldering fire pit. I found it odd that something would kill and eat a deer next to what would have been a raging bonfire, about a 7-yard circumference, the evening my guys heard it. Here is the deer. I don't share the pic often because it isn't pretty, but since you are a hunter and are experienced with wolves and such, you may have some insight. The deer and coy wolf is not related to the Sasquatch experiences, but I thought you would find it interesting and would love to hear your thoughts on all the above. Keep up the great work and videos. It is good to see folks out there who do not fear truth nor fear sharing it. Thank you, Dean. Okay, man. All right, here it is. There is the mostly Eden fawn. All right, what do I think of that? I mean, not that what I think means, it's not that whatever I think doesn't mean it's going to change anything with anything. But what does that look like to me? All right. Front legs there, still attached. Shoulders are eaten clean off. The neck and the face is still there. All right. So, what do I think ate that? Don't know. What do I think killed it? Haven't a clue. Why would a tooth be there? I don't know. Why would that tooth be there? Would it have decay signs in it, like it was pulsing and hurting something and it ripped it out and dropped it? I don't know. But I can tell you this, with a fawn like that, the neck and the face would have been eaten right off of it. The nose, for some reason, the face and the nose of deer, moose especially, most predators, especially canines, love them. They go straight for that muzzle and chew it right off. Wolves will eat all the skeletal remains of every kill, of everything. They'll grind up and eat a moose skeleton. Either spit out or shit out the teeth and leave the antlers, and that's it. They eat the entire skeleton, grind it up, and eat it. So, there you go. I don't know what killed that man, but it's a surprise. I'm surprised it left what it did, whatever it was. I'm surprised it left the neck and the face untouched. It's not normal. What else? The coy wolf thing. I've heard that numerous times. It's the coy wolf cross for me is a tough one to swallow. Only because I know that wolves do not tolerate other canines at all, and especially coyotes. They kill them on sight with a ferocity like you just can't describe. They detest them. They hate them. They want to kill every single one of them if they can. So, picturing a wolf mounting up on a coyote just does not sit well with me or vice versa. And of course, people say, well, wildlife biologists have got the proof. Well, I've seen too many wildlife biologists lie their faces off, unfortunately. So, anybody who works for any government, for me, this is just me talking. All right? I'm not necessarily right. I'm probably wrong. But my tummy, as soon as I hear somebody works for the government, my instincts go, that's a red flag for me. That's a huge red flag, and I take anything I hear from any government employee with a grain of salt. Barely. So there you go. As far as somebody being a Bigfoot expert or a Sasquatch expert, I don't know, man. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Never heard of the guy. I'm on the fence whether or not I should even share his name. I don't know, we'll see, whatever. Tell you what, though, in the future, if you have some knowledge that you think will help the people, email me, okay? Email me knowledge that'll help the people. Or if you have something you need to get off your chest that's going to help you, and you feel it may help others, get it to me, all right? One of the things that we don't do here is we do not promote individuals. We do not sensationalize any other human being here, ever. We are all equal here, and we're trading knowledge and we're helping each other. That's all we do here. If I knew of someone if anybody asked me who a Sasquatch or Bigfoot expert, from what society considers expert as an expert, considers expert as a status, Dave Plies. I'll bet you right now, of all the people I know and trust, he probably knows more than anybody to date. And I'm still compiling my information from our scientists until I get all of that together. Dave Plies is probably the most knowledgeable person that I know of today. Now, moving along. These are all recent. Okay, you guys? These are all recent emails into us. All right, what do we got here? This is titled Kansas Encounters. Kansas, been there. Turkey hunted there a few times. Hello, my name is Clifford Stevens. Clifford Stevens, I hope to God in the end of this video you don't say don't use my name. I ran a pest control company in southeast Kansas from 2007 to 2015. I had the contract to treat all the state parks there and Toronto lake cabins and facilities in that area. Someone shared a while back on your channel of a savvy peeking in on them at their house in Toronto, Kansas. Ironically, I always thought as I drove the roads to get to all those state park lakes and cabins, man, this is definitely Sasquatch territory. It is so beautiful out that way and nothing but trees, prairie, and cattle for miles. Always my best day to go work that area. Anyways, my wife divorced me in 2015. I sold my company due to the divorce and was all alone in my house on July 4th, 2015. I had researched this topic and many others because we had cattle mutilations on my dad's property. I was in contact with L.A. Marzulli because of the cattle mutilations and because of myself and family seeing crafts over our property. Ugh. I always drove the country roads to pray, seek God, and just see what I could see. I often found cattle out on the roads and would notify authorities to help get them back home. But one day while driving with my 3 young daughters, I seen a tree break. It was a thorn tree with 4-inch thorns on the branches, up about 10 foot. It was broken and twisted. It was a new break on a green limb. I also noticed what seemed to be 2 large footprint-like indentations in the grass right below the break. My oldest daughter felt scared and uneasy, so we left. So, when I was all alone on the 4th of July 2015, I decided to revisit that site at around 1 a.m. This is out in the middle of nowhere, 10 miles from Lola, Kansas on Texas Road. The nearest house is about a mile away. Just for shits and giggles, I did a tree knock and instantly was yelled at by someone or something that sounded like a gorilla/lion/man. It concussed my chest, and I knew from all my research what it was. I left to go get my dad, that was visiting from Florida to prepare his home for sale. I brought him to that location and did a scream into the woods. After a couple seconds, a pebble hit my truck, then another and another. After that, I told my dad we better go because we're not equipped to defend ourselves properly. These beings are all around and everywhere. In Burlington, Kansas last year, I seen a man wreck his car because of what can only be described as the predator standing in the road. It was a shimmering being standing upright over 8 feet tall from my vantage point. And it was at night, and the car light illuminated this being. There's a nuclear plant only a couple miles away, and I also witnessed strange dog-like creatures at night from my girlfriend's balcony that I thought were deer at first. I said hey to them, and they didn't even look up. No way they were deer. Very strange things occurred there, and no one seems to care. I'll write more later on. I'll write more later on, brother. Be blessed and keep moving forward. Okay, man. Clifford, thanks for sending that in. And thanks for being brave and sending that in and using your name as well. And it's interesting. I'm always interested to hear of the nuclear sites not being too far away. Obviously, that is a very popular item when it comes to strange goings-ons on the face of this planet. And I wonder, since we've been sharing that honesty, I wonder how many people have gone seeking these places out and getting in shit or getting too close to them. I wonder. I'll bet you lots. Well, then again, maybe not, right? Maybe not. I don't think I've ever read somebody who claimed to have seen one of these things in that state, or something in the state of, like the Predator in the Predator movie, being illuminated by headlights. That's interesting as F. I would be curious. Maybe if you think it's worthy enough, if you think the description of what you saw is worthy of retelling, maybe email me back, sorry. I'm pretty tired right now. Email me back with a full detailed description of what you saw in those headlights. How did the headlights illuminate it? What was the light from the vehicle bouncing off of when it came to that thing in the lights? That's interesting as hell to me. I'm very curious as to what that would look like. So obviously it didn't absorb light. It bounced light off of it. It illuminated. But what did it look like when it was illuminated? What did it look like? Could you see eyes in that thing? Could you see digits, like fingers, toes, anything? What did you see? What did it look like? I want to know how that shimmering image looked in headlights. Did it cast a shadow? Do you know what I mean? Because that's the first I've heard of that. And that's got my curiosity piqued. Now, another voice to be heard is titled "A Portal Opened in My Backyard." Hi Steve, thanks again for reading mine and my family's stories on your channel. I really don't think that I would ever have anything else to write in, since it had been 42 years since my last encounter. But I was wrong. I have pondered other to write this in or not. I pondered whether probably to write this in or not. Some true things are stranger than fiction. I had put in my last email that I had a few experiences in the park about a mile from my house. That's Scott Carpenter. That Scott Carpenter had mentioned in one of his videos. Now I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people to believe, but it's absolutely the truth. When you live in the city as I do, the city comes once a month to pick up trash from the side of the road. I was walking all over my yard just picking up small things to put to the road when all of a sudden, wow, this sounds crazy as I'm trying to write this, a black bear literally came out of thin air. The only explanation is a portal opened. But of all things, a black bear, my little dog took a few steps towards it, and it took 3 steps towards my dog. I started yelling and screaming and was able to scare it away. For several days, I was afraid to let my little granddaughters play in the backyard, thinking, what if the portal hasn't closed? But of course it had. 2 months later, December of this past year, we had a very unusual warm day for December. So I went out on my front porch to smoke and FaceTime my sister. I was enjoying a conversation when all of a sudden everything went absolutely quiet. Several species of birds and the tree frogs, all being very loud, just stopped. I asked my sister if she heard that. There's a few typos, minor ones. She said she didn't hear anything. What happened to all the birds and the frogs? Now here we are in March 2022. I decided to go on YouTube to see if Scott Carpenter had put out any new videos, and he had. He was talking about how these things will follow you home. He said they would leave feathers, dead animals, and would hit the side of your house. Steve, I kid you not. That night around 2 a.m., my husband jumped out of the bed and said something very loudly, 2 times. Bang, the side of the house, He looked around and saw nothing. The next day I thought I would go out to see if there was any prints of any kind. I couldn't believe it. One very large footprint. I took a picture, but it didn't show up very good. They're tough, you know what? Don't feel bad about that. Footprints are very tough to get in photograph or video, unless it's in soaking wet mud or real good soft powder dirt or snow. I took a picture, but it didn't show up very good, and there's one thing I hate is pictures of tree lines and footprints that you cannot see nothing in. Same. Thanks for sharing us the pain, but I absolutely believe you. The next morning, I had my husband sit down and watch Scott's video. He's never been a believer, but I think he is now. Am I afraid? No. I think if you're strong in your soul and your faith in God, you will be protected. I find it all quite fascinating, but now I think I owe my husband an apology. I just never connected yet. The banging on the house has been going on for several years, and I always thought my husband was paranoid, and I tell him so. For 3 years, I've been obsessed with finding out everything about these beings. I call them that because I'm not sure what to call them. You may wonder why I never heard the banging on the house. I have insomnia and take sleep aids. They make me sleep like the dead. LOL. Thanks, Steve. Lola Brown. Yes, you may use my name. And I appreciate you, Lola. Sorry. I appreciate you, Lola. I probably should have went to bed 3 hours ago. But the portal thing. A lot of people, obviously, are going to be... So a lot of people are going to be shaking their head when they hear the mentions of portals coming up. But if you're curious, the fact of the matter is, even the U.S. government, NASA's been noted to be putting millions of dollars into the study of portals. But more importantly to me, listening to the people, these portals are obviously quite very real. There are some very credible eyewitnesses who have seen beings, quote, climb out of them, hit the ground, start running, end quote. Also, importantly, my First Nations superhero ladies, their childhood community where they grew up, they spoke to me about the numerous portals they saw firsthand with their own eyes. And I trust these ladies with my life, and I trust what they tell me as to be true. And they have invited me to go out there. And basically, one of my friends has basically said, you're going to see a Sasquatch. Right? That's how common it is out there. I know the area, and I do agree that there is nothing but crazy stuff going on all around within probably a 40-mile radius of that being the bullseye. And they saw a dog's head, a dog put its head into a portal and disappear and come back out. I asked what the shape was, and she said it's not really like it's kind of like just, it's like, she said it's like a mirage on the horizon, but it's right in front of you, either on the beach or on the edge of the forest or whatever. You just see it. And they could see birds disappearing into it, flying into it and disappearing. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about this. Kind of weird. So, you know what I am going to do, instead of wishing I had done something when shit goes down, what I think I might do is, just in case, right? Just in case, when I do go out, take up the invite and go out there and hang out there, I'm going to bring my bait casting rod with a GoPro tied to it on the braided line, which is around, I think it's 200-pound test. And if by some slim 1 in a million billion chance I get to see a portal on that remote, in that remote area, and I'm close enough to it, I'm going to cast a GoPro into that sucker and see if I can retrieve it. How frickin' unbelievable would that be? Picture it. Picture it. Let's just entertain this as a weird fairy tale, but think about it. Did you imagine if somebody was somewhat prepared beforehand, knowing because of the people they trust, shared with them what they've seen numerous times? You imagine being prepared. I mean, the thought of a portal doesn't scare me at all. I don't know why. I think it would be absolutely bizarre to just stand there and see this shit. Be like, oh my God, is it moving? Is it breathing? Is it pulsing? What's it doing? Is it coming towards it? Sitting still? What the hell? and then be able to keep your shit together enough to actually turn on, grab the GoPro, put it on unlimited video, hit the power. I'd have it set already for how it's going to video. So you just hit the power, hit record, it's recording, bam, and cast that sucker as hard as you can into that thing, and hope that you can retrieve it. I mean, what do? You let it soak? Do you cast it in there and let it soak? Do you wait for a bite? Is it just going to cast in and sit there? Is it going to go slack and drop to the ground? I don't know. But could you imagine if, not just me, anybody, could you imagine if somebody was prepared in a way, had a casting rod and a GoPro, especially on braided line, which is the braided line I bought was for a couple $100, and you managed to keep your shit together and cast a GoPro into that sucker and retrieve it. Was there anybody out there that wouldn't want to see that video? Once you got the GoPro back? Man, oh man, would that be amazing. Wouldn't it? I couldn't even begin to half guess. I couldn't even begin to start to make up what would come back in that camera. I don't know. Having a frickin' clip. Would it be sunshine and frickin' palm trees? I don't know. It'd be something else, but I'm going to do it. When I go out, I'm bringing that setup with me for sure. But anyway, appreciate you and thanks for sending that in. And make sure you send anything else you got. Anything happens, anything you learn that can help the people, send it in. All right? Or if you need help yourself, send it in. All right. Oh, I might have read this. This is titled A Recovery Story and the Deer That Moonwalked. Hi again, Steve, and those awakened to a new reality. Or is it new, is it old and hidden? It's Craig from northern Minnesota. First off, I'd like to say that last spring, 2021, I beat a 10-year plus addiction to opiates. Good for you, man. You've just reached superhuman status. I guess I shouldn't say beat, but I feel like I did, although the addiction seems to never fully go away. That being said, I'm clean now about 1.5 years and going strong. Right on. You go. You got this. Oddly enough, once I detoxed, I noticed an awareness present that I'd been long asleep. It started small but grew immensely after I nearly died in July of 21. After I recovered, I had so many bizarre encounters that terrified me at first, literally sending me into a panic, but eventually made me smile and shake my head. I have many instances to write about, but for this email I'll focus on one that many will doubt and say, "What you smoking, boy?" But on my children and all that I love, I swear it to be true and accurate. One night in the summer 2021, my best friend and I were out cruising, as we love to do, out in the backwoods of our local area. We talked, cranked the tunes, and laughed, just having a good time. We pulled onto a county highway around 11 p.m. and my friend was driving. As he accelerated to around 75 miles per hour, I could see in the headlights ahead a deer coming from the left, heading right into our lane of travel. It was just about to the center line, and I decided it was just about to the center line, and I started shouting, "Deer, brake, brake!" And because of the loud music, my buddy did not hear me. As we approached, with him still accelerating, I yelled at the top of my lungs, "Deer!" As impact was eminently close. Just then we both watched, as if on ice, that deer with legs moving forward was pulled backwards across the center line, did an about face and slowly walked to safety away from us as we passed. Now, for those who don't catch what I just said, let me say it again. That deer had its legs moving forward into certain death, yet it was being pulled backwards to safety by something unseen yet present. It was the most bizarre looking incident, and we both just looked at each other and said, "Did you effing see what I saw?" We were astonished. I was more accepting of it, as I knew already what had happened, but my buddy kept arguing with his own eyes and trying to push it out as something else. It scared him. You see, nothing in our world is as it seems. It's so much more than we know yet. For some reason, some of us are giving a lens to view it for what it is. It's long enough already, as many wait to be heard, so I'll write in periodically to share with those willing to receive my truth. Take care, Steve, Sarah, all the farm kids, and How Hunt family. God bless Craig. Craig? It's funny I said the word Greg, 'cause my childhood best friend had addiction problems and he didn't make it. That's unfortunate. But Craig, you're the man. You're the man. You've got this. You're back in control. You got this. All right? You're probably more of a motivator than I can do. But for you, but all I can do is give you a big pat on the back and way to go, man. That's awesome. I love hearing that. And as far as the deer getting grabbed and pulled back, who knows? Who knows why, the what's, the amount of crazy shit going on. There's I could think of multiple reasons for something like that happening. It's either something had the opportunity to mess with you. It might have just been standing there and did it just to mess with your brain. There goes a deer right there in front of the shop door. Like literally 5 yards in front of the door. How's that for a coincidence? Anyway, it's either something absolutely messing with you because it could, because it was standing right there. Or somebody's taking care of your ass and knew that if that deer went through the windshield, one of you wasn't going to make it, and there goes one of the shittins following the deer. And yeah, because who knows? I mean, obviously a deer's life probably being saved randomly in the middle of nowhere probably isn't going to change the course of the world, right? Or is it? Who knows? I don't know. I want to hear more. Send it in, man. I'm here to hear more. Send it in. Send it in. Who's next? Oh, this is a screenshot of a comment emailed in to me. All right? Probably from YouTube channel. This is it must be YouTube. The title of this person is Costa Rica Nature Conservatory is the name. Probably must be channel. I saw a UFO land in Costa Rica, and when I went to check the site, it had several sizes of Bigfoot barefoot prints along with some strange machine or robot prints in the dirt where it was. February 28th, 2014 at 3:50 a.m. Punta Leona, many witnesses. There is a connection. It scared me so much, I returned to the U.S. to be closer to family after 20 years falling out. Something good came from the experience. I have some answers, but even more questions. Thanks for your channel. All right, that'll be YouTube. All right. Did you hear that, you guys? Punta Leona, Costa Rica. Many witnesses, February 28th, 2014. All right. What are the chances one of those witnesses is watching this channel? I'm guessing it's probably right up there. So, if the person who made this comment, or some of the other witnesses that saw this on that date at that time in that place, if you're watching this, email us in a very detailed description of what you saw. And if you can, if you know other witnesses, get them to email in what they saw too. We want to hear about it, all right? Especially when you hear it's multiple witnesses like that. Life-changing, no doubt. Crazy, eh? Crazy. So much shit's being held back from us over the years, isn't there? There's so much shit that's been intentionally held back. And people wonder why when I first came out publicly, I just started shitting on the past so-called big names. Shitting on them as they deserved every little drop of it for doing what they did. Intentionally withholding valuable information from the people and intentionally changing or covering up the honest testimonies of brave people who, God only knows how much time and courage, how much time it took to build up the courage for a lot of these people to share their experiences with these assholes, only to be shit on and kicked to the curb and hidden in the darkness again. We all have read how these encounters affect people. How it makes them terrified, it makes them double terrified to share, gives them PTSD, gives them anxiety, social anxiety, all sorts of anxieties. And could you imagine you come across some group of pricks or a prick who claims to be some kind of, expert or whatever they want to call it, support, send us in your experiences, and they turn around and shit on those people, or change the story, or share the story and leave out the details they don't want you to hear. Sorry, man, but yeah, I don't feel bad at all for shitting on those losers. At all. I know, just ignore them, Steve, I know. But, like I said, sometimes people gotta fight, right? And the truth that must be shared. And you're not gonna share the truth from being a passive, soft kitten. You get in their face, ram it down their throat, and tell them you know exactly what they did, and call them out, and square up and face them and look them in the eye. Listen to me go. All right. Moving along. This is titled Believe. Steve, I'm writing to tell you that I do believe, but I've never seen a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. I'm 70-something senior citizen. I grew up in the forests of California. My father worked for the U.S. Forest Service for 36 years during the 50s and 70s. He passed now, so I can't ask any questions. But I remember him telling my mom that he had some strange feelings out in the forest, i.e., the whole forest going dead quiet. Also, some of these feelings made him leave the area. I asked him, as a young adult, if he ever saw a Bigfoot, and he always said no. Excuse me. My father was a native of the northwestern Sorry. Oh my God, there's a chicken in here trying to roost. It's basically dark outside. Sorry, you guys. My father was a native of the northwestern part of the U.S. I say this because I'm sure that he had heard all the early stories of Bigfoot. He worked with loggers and Forest Service personnel for the majority of his career. He was often out in the backcountry for weeks. He was actually more comfortable in the forest than he was in a public setting. Same. I listened to your emails, and having been raised out in the forests of Northern California, playing in the forest while living in the Forest Service ranger stations, I'm hearing the locations. These creatures are spreading across the country and becoming more prevalently seen in a more populous area. I pay attention to location, years of sightings. It is surprising to listen to this and make these notations of my childhood and what and where these creatures have populated to. I appreciate what you have set up for believers. I'm a believer and a conservative person. Keep up the good work that you're providing for the believers. Thank you, Wanda. You can use my name. Okay, Wanda. I appreciate you emailing in. And one thing I'd like to add to that, or just give a little bit of take, what I got to say is, it's just for me. I never dictate to anyone. Take from what you will or leave it. It's your own personal puzzle, your ride. But the believer word, I don't use that word at all. I eliminate the believer label altogether. It's knowledge. So at this stage of the game for me, it's whether you know or not, or what you know. So you're either a knower or you just don't know yet. Believer, I don't know. It is what it is. Everybody's going to use it. It's innocent. But I just, for me, I really, really stay away from the word I believe it. I'm more like, I know. And a lot of people out there just don't know yet. Anyway, absolutely appreciate you sending that in. And sounds like your dad is my kind of people. I would have loved to sat down and picked his brain and listened to him talk. I love listening to our senior members of society talk. Love it. You can't get better knowledge than from them, right? All right. I just found another novel. Should I do this? Am I going to get in trouble inside? All right. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to get going. It's titled My Life. Steve, please just use my first name, John. I've been a part of the H2H, How to Hunt, for about 2 years now. Your channel has helped me through my journey after my first sighting. For that, I cannot thank you and the rest of the family enough. I've learned a great deal from you. After my sighting, I did not return to the mountains for a full year. Through some knowledge and education from you and the gang, I now go and enjoy myself. Yes. Now on to the beginning of my ride. I decided one day I'd head up into the mountains to go look for ginseng. I had no idea where to look for it. Through research, I started to determine where it was going to be based on percentages. So I headed up into the mountains starting in April. I searched for at least 2 weekends, a month, till the second week of September. During this time, I had 2 separate instances where things were weird, but I did not know what to make of it. The first was, I was walking, and once I got into an area that was kind of tight. On the left side of the ravine was covered in laurel bushes, and on the right side was rocky and really steep. I was walking up the trail and noticed that my steps were almost like double or a fast echo. I stopped walking and then started again. Again, my steps sounded like a double crunch in the leaves. This time I stopped. I did not finish my steps and hovered my foot over the ground. At that point, I heard a step up in the laurels. In between the second and third time, I verbally abused whoever was trying to scare me, telling them the joke was over. Come out, they're busted. This happened 2 more times, then I lost it. I proceeded to take my walking stick and smash everything around me. I now know that guy was probably up there literally rolling on his face, laughing. Okay, whatever it's ROFLMAO. I continued up the mountain without any more funny business. My second ordeal was in another mountain range. I was driving up, stupid little bugs. I was driving up to where a fire road gate was. I parked my truck and got out. I hopped in the back of my truck, grabbed my backpack. It has my essentials: water, snacks, toilet paper, and some machetes and some knives. I'm in the national forest, so no guns. When I got in the back of my truck is when this started. At first, I had a feeling of being watched. The longer I was there, the worse it got. It gradually increased in the amount of pressure I was feeling. So the first part was just feeling watched. I was like, who the heck's looking at me? So I waited there to see if anyone's going to jump out at me. Still having the feeling, I decided to get down off the back of my truck. And I was thinking I'll go to the front of my truck in a clear view of where I left this coming in, make a show of putting my machete and knives on my belt. When I moved to the front of my truck, I noticed the pressure of this feeling was rapidly increasing. I felt like I was nervous and full of anxiety. It literally had me walking in a small circle, talking to myself. What the F, what the F, what the F. It continually got worse. After dancing around for about a minute, I finally got mad and said, F it. I've been visually scanning the woods for the source of this, but nothing. I went ahead and started my hike in. I got about 20 yards in, and it only got worse. This part is too much information, but suddenly I had to take a dump. So I went off path and found a good tree and started my business. All good, man. Every single human being out there does it once or twice or more times a day. How could that offend anybody? I then continued my hike without anything else happening. Though one strange fact, as I walked the upper portion of the trail, there was a doe standing on the fire road eating grass. I walked within 10 yards of it, and even at that distance, the doe only flicked its tail and slowly walked away. Strange, right? Now I decided that one of my sons would benefit from learning how to ginseng hunt. So thanks to Google Earth, I found a good area to explore and search. The area was a big bowl and about 2 miles in from the road. I decided to make this a good father-son time and camp to eliminate the extra trips in and out. We hiked in and built a lean-to to sleep in. So after a long day hiking all over the place, we came back to make some dinner. Little bastard. And get some rest. The location of our lean-to was on an old logging road that doubled as a game trail. Yes, Steve, this is probably not the place to build one, but I was ignorant to this fact at the time. Anyway, we talked and ate for a bit. My son was exhausted and said he was crashing. I was tired also and followed shortly thereafter. Sometime during the night, I woke up and looked out. standing beside a tree that was approximately 3 to 4 feet across, was a man-shaped being. My first thought was, why is there a guy in a ghillie suit up here? Second thought, man, that guy's big. Due to our location, we were about 20 yards from a big rock slide inside the tree line. That big tree is on the edge of the slide. That thing was wider than the tree and looked fuzzy. It was just standing there looking at us. I started to reach for my flashlight and almost got it, but when I was about to grab it, I had a sudden thought that it might not be a good idea. I kept my eyes on it the entire time. Then I opted to try and open my eyes wider to let more light in. But that just made my eyes dry out. I had to rub my eyes. Then I had to rub my eyes. When I finished, it was out of sight. It was about 8 foot tall, 4 feet wide. I've never felt so insignificant in all my life. I made a decision to just go back to sleep. I was almost certainly not hiking the 2 miles out in the dark. In the morning we got up and started our day. I told my son what happened last night, and he just laughed and said, "Yeah, right." I just let it alone due to my lack of information on the subject. We hiked out of there, and shortly thereafter is when I found this channel. At this point is where I did not go back out to the mountains for a year. So in my process of getting back to the woods, there's a lake up in the mountains in this area, and as a matter of fact, you have read a few stories from other folks from this area. I like fishing more than being scared, so away I go. I fished a few times in the middle of the afternoon without any occurrences. I was talking to my youngest son about the fishing there. He then informed me that he had been watching catch and cook videos online and he wanted to go with me. I actually was surprised because out of my 4 sons, none of them like the outdoors like I do. The following day we got up there in the afternoon and started fishing. I've been having really good luck until this day. We were struggling to get bites, and when we did, we missed the hook set. Finally caught 2 decent sized fish. I showed my son how to clean them and start the fire to cook them on. Time really got away from me, and I was not paying attention to how dark it had gotten. I only really noticed because I started feeling some pressure. So I told my boy to stay close, and we ate the fish. I then hurriedly cleaned up the site, put out the fire, picked up everything to carry back to the truck. At this point, the pressure was really bad. I told my son to walk on my right side due to the pressure coming from my left. I got out my flashlight and was shining it around. And about 20 yards away, there was a broken tree. It was broken about 7 to 8 feet off the ground. It had recently broken, was still green. And right above the broken part was a rusty brown patch. As I panned my light around, I told my son to hustle up and we hurried to the truck. That incident made me wonder. So 2 weeks later I returned, but with one of my dogs. This little dog is half terrier and half beagle. We walked around the lake for a bit. I did not have any pressure, and the dog did not alert to anything. We were driving out, and I was about to pass a ravine that I wanted to go in to check if there was any ginseng in there. I parked, and we got out and started walking on the left side of the ravine. On the left side, it was an easy slope. On the right side, it was a little steeper, but on the side, it was super thick with laurel. I paid close attention to my dog the whole way in. On the way, he kept looking up at the top of the ridge. He would stop and look briefly and then move on and was still pretty relaxed. On the way out, we came back at the edge of the laurel. When we got about 30 yards from the truck, he turned around and was looking intently at a really thick patch of laurel and started to growl. About 10 seconds of that, suddenly I heard something rushing through laurel. It sounded like a big tree falling down the mountain. It was just brief, but it scared the crap out of my dog. He ran up onto my legs and started whimpering. At this point, I spoke out loud, said, "We're leaving." After that ordeal, I was still pretty shook up about this whole Sabbath thing. I found a group of folks that were having a convention about Bigfoot. Well, I ended up going to this convention to see if I could learn something. I walked in, looked around, found a seat near the back. After listening to some of the stories, we went on break. As I walked out, a Native American man motioned at me to come over to him. When I got there, the first thing he asked was if I was in the military. I informed him I was not, to which his response was, "So you've seen one, huh?" I was kind of shocked because I didn't talk to anyone. I told him what makes you ask that question. He said that it was the way I entered the building. He was standing on the right inside the door. He said I was extremely observative and that he has only seen that from military personnel and people that have had experience with these beings. So I told him all my experiences, and he told me I was probably marked. I asked what that means. He said, they will know when you enter the forest, and they know what kind of person you are. We talked for a while, and again it was after. We talked for a while, and again after it was over. I decided then I was going back to the mountains the next day. On a map, I'd found another lake that I wanted to go check out. So you can't drive into this lake, it's gated. I started hiking in. I ran into a man and his son. I stopped and talked to him for a minute. We chatted for a few minutes, and at the end of our conversation, I asked if he saw anything weird. To which he said, "What do you mean?" I didn't care to elaborate. I just said, "Any weird noises or see any strange things?" And he immediately cut our conversation short and said he had to get his autistic son home. I found this highly interesting as it brought up something from a few stories from you. This area you have to hike in on an old road. Then you have to stay on the road or go straight up the dam. I can in the road. So it says I can in the road. Period. There's a ravine that comes in the back side of the lake and another on the left side of the lake, which is where the road goes. As I made my way to the left ravine, I didn't feel any pressure. The minute I walked off the road and into the woods, I heard something take off running. I thought it was a deer, so I followed. I came to a location that was kind of flat and the forest floor was just duff. In the duff, I could see a trackway. The problem was, this trackway was that the footprints went in a straight line. I started and I realized that it was human-shaped prints, and I could put my hand in the print and feel where the toes had really dug down in, and also heavy in the heel location. With my fingers, I could feel that the toes had dug into the duff about 3 inches deep. I looked back at my prints, which were totally non-existent. I tried jumping up and down to leave a good print, and I could not. The duff just acted like sponge and came right back to its form. Now, I'm not a little guy. I'm about 220 pounds, and I was thinking I should be able to make a print. Then I noticed that the distance between the prints, I put my foot beside one print and tried to jump to the next print. I could not get there. I was about a foot short of the next step. There's probably about 6 feet between the prints. I followed them a little farther and came to a spot that looked like doorway in a tree and vine-covered wall. Looking at that, it looked like an ambush area to me, so I dropped down into the bottom of the ravine and walked up the other side. When I got to the bottom, I heard a squirrel barking at me. I found this strange because the squirrel was all the way at the top of the side I was going to and back towards the lake. It was a long ways away. I found it strange because usually I'm near the tree the squirrel is in when they bark at me. I noted this and began climbing the other side of the ravine. About a third of the way up, I found a game trail that led deeper into the ravine. As I walked in this game trail, I heard the squirrel again, this time coming from the bottom of the ravine, right where I'd just come from. As I walked deeper into the woods, I got tired and thirsty. I found a nice rock to sit on, pulled off my pack and got out of water and a pack of nuts. Just as I finished a drink, I saw a figure walking, but leaned over as if sneaking down at the bottom of the ravine, going between 2 trees. It was the same color as the pine needles, like a rusty brown color. I only saw it for a second. I listened for any movement and saw nothing. I listened for any movement and nothing. After about a minute, I heard a bird start to chirp very loudly and rapidly from up from behind me. It did this chirping for a full minute and then it stopped. I sat there a bit longer and the chirping started up again, but this time across the ravine, a knocking started up. The knocks and the chirps were in sync, rhythmically at the same time. This lasted about 30 seconds. I stood up and said out loud, "Okay, I'm leaving now. Here's a snack for you, and I mean no harm." I then poured out the rest of the nuts in the rock and left. I felt no pressure on the way out. On the way out, all I could think about was what the Native American man had told me about being marked or tagged. What was the likelihood that what he said was true? Could it be a coincidence? Either way, I'm very sure that the squirrel and the bird noises didn't come from a squirrel or a bird. Well, it's almost ginseng season again, so I'm sure I'll have more for you and the H2H family soon. Hopefully I'll be able to write in again if able. Thanks for making this platform to share. Again, your channel helped me enough to get back out there. If you have any questions or remarks, please know you're welcome to reach out to me. And when the time comes, I'll definitely come get the families back. Let's go, good guy army. I hope my grammar is okay and you'll be able to deliver it to the people smoothly. Could I use your name? I always forget, see? Please just use my first name, John. All right, that was a close one because you left your full name in the bottom. And again, you guys, quick note: you email me and you don't want me to use your name. Don't put it anywhere in the email, all right? Especially this time of year, because I'm so freaking tired and I'm yanked in 70. That was a gunshot. Yanked in 70. In the darkness. That way, it sounds like maybe a quarter mile or something. There you go. What was I saying? If you don't want your name used, don't put it anywhere in the email. And I mean nowhere. All right? Because especially a longer email too. I'm lucky because I'll read the whole thing and I'll get to the end and I'll just keep reading and splatter out the name after you told me not to in the very beginning. Sorry, I'm not perfect. But anyway, thanks for that email, man. And you know what you saw. You know what you saw. You know what it was. Email us. Email us more. You come across knowledge you feel it can help the people, you email us back in, all right? And keep going with your instincts. Listen, feel, and listen. Stay in tune to that pressure. If you're lucky enough to pick up on that pressure, like lots of us are, including me, pick up on that pressure and listen to it. And then react the way you think you should. In those ambush areas, you guys all know my stance by now on ambush areas. They don't need them. These beings don't need an ambush area for nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. Anyway, I gotta go. And that's the end of the shares for right now. And I'm gonna add in my quick note to my future guests coming in a handful of days, a few days. Please reconsider your plans of taking your motorhome on that logging road. It is so nasty right now, it's not even funny. And it just makes me sick, the thought of you being stuck on the side of that road with tending to a flat on your motorhome. It's up to you, you'll make it there and back, but if you got some spare wheels and you're willing to do that, fine. But your experience here would be way, way larger if you were to take the Lady Rose. Google up the Lady Rose online, or Sarah's going to email you the details anyway. And please consider, just pack the clothes you need, the cooler you want. The Lady Rose will give you the most craziest, beautiful tour of the Alberni Inlet all the way out to the west coast where I am. Drop you off. Literally, it'll take you almost 2 minutes tops to walk to your hotel. And then I will pick you up at that same dock in the morning, and you're going to have a hell of a time. And then you can go back on the Lady Rose again. All right? Or not. And the parking out there in Banfield is very challenging right now. And you will not be able to find a parking spot for your motorhome right in town if you do camp at one of the campgrounds that are down the road. So it might make things a little more difficult. But anyway, there you go, you guys. Thought I'd throw that personal message out because I could. What else? That's about it. Time's ticking, man. Time's ticking. All I think about is the north. Probably, I don't think I actually really stopped thinking about going up north at this time of the year right now. I think about it nonstop, as I'm still doing all my other shit, but can't wait. I'm just going to see what happens if anything odd happens this fall. Something usually does. Hopefully it's nothing too stressful. Because I don't want it ruined for me, and I really, 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 really need to take up my First Nation superhero ladies offer to go out to that community with them. Can't wait to do that. I can't wait to do all sorts of shit. I'm babbling like an idiot right now. I gotta go. So, share my story at outhunt.com. Share it. Share the knowledge. And I will guarantee you there's a piss load of knowledge coming all of our way shortly. Alright? I've already got a whole bunch of it. And I'll deliver it in one great big nasty batch that nobody can stop.